Good afternoon, Ron G, aka Your Console, the Net Worth Nation, coming to you today with a very interesting topic and a timely topic. But before we get into the material today, I would like to ask for you guys to please like, subscribe, and be sure to comment if you like content like this. By all means, it's my intention to bring it to you in the best way I know how. And one of the things I want to say to you, most of you guys know out there, I do respect your opinions and I do respect your narrative. So it's very important for your voices to be heard. Please, by all means, comment in the comment section. Now, today's topic, as you can see on my screen, is probably a little controversy, especially in the generation in which we're living in today. I wanted to talk about the top 5 reasons why you should not send your child off to college. And I know um, this might be something of a hot topic because of the obvious reasons that we all know. But before we get into what we think it may be, I'd like to share some of the reasons that I think probably go unnoticed. And while college is a major, major step, a big step for most of our young people, I thought that the timely of this conversation as we get ready to send our kids back off to high school. So for those of you who got your 10th graders and your juniors and everything going in, and these are those years, those precious strategic years that you really, really want to get a little bit more focus on what your child wants to do. And let me just say this, this is not to in any way undermine anyone who's invested in their 4 year career or beyond. I think that going to college is a major, major accomplishment. I know a lot of you out there may have been the first person in your family to actually go and graduate. Big ups to my daughter and my nephew, who I think, yeah, we're the first in our families to actually go to through a 4 year and uh, and complete it. So, with that, without further ado, I just want to kind of sign that disclaimer away and say that under no intention do I have is to undermine. But as we think about what kids are thinking about at this part of their career, we have to understand that these kids have to be a little bit more intentional about what they really want to do and want to become. And that intent actually really starts with us right here, with us. And what do I mean by that? Most of our children are holding on to our every word. Now, let's be realistic. I came out of the Generation X era, and it was so important for us just to go to college, go to school, right? And because of that narrative, our parents weren't necessarily as engaged with the types of curriculum and with the types of collegiate courses or majors that maybe we should take. And again, it does require really getting into our kids a certain way. And let's be realistic. We have to take ownership of the fact that some of us as parents have a specific intent that we want for our children. And sometimes that can be a collision course heading for disaster because we have to recognize who our children really are, right? Our children are a DNA combination of your wife's parents, my uh, the husband's parents, the husband, his genealogy, her genealogy, and you're mixing all these things together, and you have this child, and then on top of all those different DNAs running through their bloodlines, they have their own mental identities and the things that they want. So it's very important as parents to sometimes put that emotion to the side and really look and analyze the child and really look at their natural element and where they're really good at. And I'll get back to that shortly in a minute. But when I'm talking about the intent, it's really because when that intent level is not realized, unfortunately, our children have a very, very high level of confusion. They just don't know and don't understand what they want to do. Now, earlier I mentioned my daughter, who happened to be a part of the statistics, which I'm getting ready to read here, that she was one of those people, along with my nephew, who ended up changing their college major, I think maybe even 2 to 3 times. And it says it right here, 80%, 80%, this is Business Weekly, 80% of students change their major at least one time, right? And on average, students change it roughly about 3 times before they graduate. Now, why are we making such a big issue for this? Well, for a few reasons, a couple of reasons. One, every time you change your major, certain electives or courses are not going to translate over to the new major, which means you may have to take more classes, which means that now, instead of you graduating in the 4 year timeline, you may graduate in 6 years. And in some cases, it could even be 8 years. And, let's be realistic. The longer you delay graduation, is the longer it takes for you to get into the workforce. The longer it takes for you to begin generating the income that is going to need to start to, make payments if you had student loans and things like that. So again, it's very important to have a solid understanding of where you want to go, because that is one of the big challenges that absolutely hurt us. Another big thing too is that you just can't go to college anymore just taking basic classes and basic electives. You have to make sure, and I say you because again, this really comes on our backs as parents. This is really our responsibility. So I'm speaking to both. But we have to make sure that our kids are gearing up in specialization trends, specialization fields, because now we understand that not all college diplomas are created equal. They're just not. They're not. And so we know, if most of you are in high school, you know about the STEM, the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Those types of degrees obviously are going to have a higher weight to them, right? We also know that degrees that may require a BS of science or some kind of master's degree or doctorate's degree, we know those degrees are going to hold a higher level of value. So let's keep it real when it comes to that. But we also know that degrees that are very specified toward professions of the sciences, computer sciences, medical professions, technicians, lab techs, lawyers, doctors, nurses, things of that nature. We all know that those degrees still retain a high sense of value. Like I said recently in the top 7 businesses video, that anything that can turn a profit relatively quickly is always going to have a higher sense of value. So meaning that when someone comes out of these types of degrees, they won't necessarily have to worry about kind of starting, from the bottom of the spectrum and kind of working their way up. I remember something, even my wife said when she graduated with her degree in biology, but it was really just a degree where, again, it wasn't really a high intent. Was she going to go into marine biology? Was she going to go in the lab? Things like that. It was just getting that 4 year degree. And while she did mention that a lot of life skills were learned, because again, she went away to university, a lot of life skills were learned. When it came down to when she got in the workforce, you know, while her degree was very well respected, it did not have the same type of value to throw her right into that higher upper echelon of income. So again, guys, we want to make sure our kids are highly looking at specialization trends when they make those decisions. Another thing we got to realize too is that the world is moving so fast, guys. So fast. I remember a conversation I had with a gentleman. He says, by the time the ink is dry on the second or third edition of a college textbook, it's pretty much already outdated, man. Pretty much already outdated. Technology magazine that I read says that the pace of technology is so fast, man. Listen to this. I saw this in an article. It says it took 2.4 million years. Now, I don't necessarily believe in millions of years. I think the world is thousands of years old, but whether it's thousands or millions, we know for sure that it took our ancestors a long time to get control of fire and eventually be able to use it for cooking. So if you look at when fire came along, when it was actually created, and when it was used for cooking, thousands of years, thousands. But here, interestingly enough, it says from the time that an airplane was created by the Orville Wright brothers in North Carolina Beach in Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, from the time that little toy airplane, 66 years later, man was on the moon. You see what I'm saying? That's a major leap in technology. That's very, very quick, very, very fast. Another article I saw in Technology Today, it says, of the jobs that will exist in 2030, and this is kind of scary, 85% of the jobs that will exist, meaning that these jobs are coming in 2030. So what is this, 2024? 6 years? 85% of those jobs haven't even been invented yet. That means somebody's going to create them. The pace of change will be so rapid that people will have to learn in the moment. In the moment. And I always challenge my son. I said, technology is ever increasing. I challenge him to stay reading, stay studying. So again, of the top 5 reasons, the other reason I want to say is because this information is moving so fast. So fast. Yeah, man, unbelievable. Technology is just so moving so rapidly. So I see here technology, yeah, according to Henderson Engineers, article that was written on their campus. It says technology is rapidly progressing with technical skills and knowledge required to into the IT field is ever changing. So it means it's changing in real time. So do the education institutions actually have the ability to keep up with this level of success? Here's the craziest thing. Down here it says your average university student is enrolled into a 4 year career. Obviously, we just talked about that. However, in a 4 year span, 4 year span, the trends relevant to the ITs have changed several times, not once, not twice, not 3 times, but several times. So, due to this, the students' knowledge on the university curriculum has the potential to become obsolete. Obsolete. You know, we were talking about these people that's been holding hostage the automobile industry, the breaches, um, the thing that happened with AT&T not long ago. I mean, stuff's just happening, and these people, these cyber people, are moving at light speed, man. The way they learn, the way they pick this stuff up. So again, when these young people are coming out of university, is the data, is the knowledge up to date? Can it keep up to date? So that's another reason why you may want to be strategic when you're sending your kid to college, because if you want to send them to if they do want to get into those types of fields, they have excellent technological trade schools and training schools and IT certification programs and things like that that would cost a fraction of what a college education would cost and get them on job relatively quickly. Another thing, another reason why I feel that I would send my kid to college is just on the fact of the professors. Let's just talking about my business administration, people that are going into the field of business. Um, they have that entrepreneurial thing now with business admin. And so my question is, does that university instructor, the one that's lecturing you at Lecture A Hall, have the real understanding of what goes into running a business? Are they running a business? Have they ever run a business? Or maybe they ran the business and they gave up the business, and 5, 10 years ago they went into teaching. And as we just learned on the previous slide, the technology is world is moving so fast, and so is business. So a lot of the business things that you may have been working 5 to 10 years ago could be very much outdated. So again, another reason is the experiential disconnect that I believe exists in campuses all across the United States. Here's the thing: when you analyze what they look for someone to teach business, these universities are only really looking for the academia. Does this instructor have the academic? Do they have the hours that they put in the research? Right? So that would be like me researching how to start a YouTube channel, how to start the Net Worth Nation business, how to get it off the ground. So I'm reading all these books, which I have actually, and studied, which I have, right? And watched patiently, which I have. And then when the moment of business comes, I sit back and I never start helping families. I never start creating strategic ways to start a small business or to protect a small business. Or I never push the products that I have to protect families and enhance retirement solutions and HR benefits for small businesses and companies. I just keep all that knowledge to myself and I never actually put it in play or I never put it in effect. How much weight would I really have if I'm sitting here talking to you about stuff I researched and not actually did? It's a big difference, isn't it? So again, not to knock the professors and universities, but again, I don't know if there's an experiential value with those guys. And my last and final one, which I think is the biggest one of all, is the cost factor of a college degree. Now, we can go on and on and on about all the problems surrounding it, but let me just give you some basic data from Educational Data Initiative. The average cost of a college education, average in the United States, is about $38,000, and there's some high, obviously, and some lower. Again, you have some students that will stay local in a community college, um, or they may go out of state to a state college. So, in state tuition on an annual level could be right now roughly about $9,700 annually. And then, of course, up to 27,457 in the case we read earlier, 38,000. So, what are we saying here? You see, what we talked about on the previous reasons why I wouldn't send my kid to college is because if we're not intentional, if our child does not understand what classes they're taking and not going into university knowing straight up what they're taking and they do have to change their major, there's costs associated with that. The longer you stay, the more you pay. Yeah, so when you stay in college an extra year or two while you're trying to work it out, figure it out, which major and all those electives you're going to take, that's going on the bill. That's going on the bill. So now that 38,000 is going up. See, you cannot afford to send your kid to school almost in the first place. And you surely can't afford to send them if they're not intentional about what they're trying to do. Another reason you can't send them because if they're not going into a specific level of intent. And we talked about this before. The doctors, the lawyers, the sciences, the biologies, the medicines, and all those types of professions that turn around a dollar quickly. When I say turn around a dollar quickly, most likely when you come out with a master's or some form of doctorate or BS, Bachelor of Science degree, you're going to go into the workforce earning at that higher percentile for a starter versus someone coming down lower and having to work their way up. So that gives you a head start on being able to pay back those student loans. And those old student loans and that ball and chain. And we can sit here and talk all day and all night, but $1.74 trillion in student loan debt, that's serious business, guys. That's serious business. So again, like I said, when I opened, I don't want to disrespect anybody who's chosen the 4-year degree path. But what I'm talking about, And again, like I said it before, we're sending off our kids now to high school, and now these are the years where they're crunching it. It's very important for us as the parents to be very in tune to what our kids are really all about, because some of them probably could be better off going straight into trade school, like in my son's situation. Average borderline high school student, struggled in curriculum, struggled in staying on task, stumbles into a plumbing apprentice program and becomes a rock star. Yeah. And I bet a lot of you got kids out there just like that. But they'll go to school because mom or dad is forcing their hand there. But they have other talent. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not here to cause any rift in family decisions. What I am here to say is if your child is going to go to school and if you're intent on sending them, just make sure you send them under the right pretenses. The student loan debt is real, and all of these administrations have come and gone, and the student loan debt is still here, guys. Hope this helped. Ranji, aka Your Console, the Net Worth Nation. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment on the channel. Peace. I'm out.